Okay, we'll call this meeting to order, please. I have a mover and a seconder to call the meeting to order. Councillor Chapman, Deputy Mayor Coughlin. That the regular meeting of Council of the Township of Springwater of June 19, 2019 come to order at 6:30 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Please stand for the singing of the national anthem, led by Deputy Mayor Coughlin. Thank you.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you. Okay, any disclosure of pecuniary interest tonight? All right, thank you. First, we have Mr. Trevor Carter and students. Mr. Carter is a teacher at St. Joseph's High School, and some great students here tonight making a presentation to council regarding the 75th anniversary D-Day ceremonies that they went on a trip. So we look forward to you telling us about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us back. As you recall, back in February, we came in here and hoped that perhaps Springwater Township could give us a hand with some of the costs for our anniversary trip for the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasions. And thank you very much for helping us cover the cost for the bus to get the students from our school all the way down to Pearson Airport to start this exciting journey. These students are here today to talk a little bit about some of the things that they experienced there and some of what we saw, and to thank you for helping to get all of us there. A third of the travelers were from Springwater Township, so we had local representation with our students honoring the sacrifice of those war veterans, some of whom did make it to the beach, as you'll see.
Thank you.
Our trip to Europe was meant to include as many Canadian military sites as possible, and not just from World War II. Here we are visiting the monument at Vimy Ridge, which commemorates the Great Canadian Victory in World War I. Some students were able to find their families' names engraved on the monument, which honors those Canadians who died in World War I, but whose bodies were never found. But the main purpose of our trip was to be present at the 75th anniversary celebration of the D-Day beach invasions. As we visited Gold Beach, we saw storefronts that were decorated with thank yous to the Allied liberators, including Canada. We also saw the remains of the breakwaters that were built by the Allies after taking the beach.
We also visited one of the American beaches, Omaha Beach, where the cliffs faced by the Americans could be seen alongside the large craters from the Allied aerial bombardment. As you can see in those pictures, those are the craters from the bombardment, which we got the opportunity to explore and see, as well as we went in the bunkers, the Nazi bunkers, and saw how those were set up, which was a great experience. The Americans were also celebrating the 75th anniversary of D-Day at their beaches. We met American servicemen and war veterans during our time at Omaha Beach, as you can see there. We got to talk to these people, talk to them about their experiences at the beach where we were standing on, which was a great experience as well.
We eventually made it to Canada's beach, Juno Beach, to meet many Canadian soldiers who fought there. This would likely be the last time that any veterans would be at a significant ceremony such as the 75th or the 100th. The ceremony consisted of many speeches from dignitaries, both French and Canadian, most notably Justin Trudeau. And after the ceremony, the veterans pictured here had the opportunity to visit the beach where they once fought, and we had the opportunity to visit the Juno Beach Museum. The most intimate of the ceremonies which we attended was the one at Monte Cassino in Italy. A ceremony was held here at the foot of the mountain monastery of Monte Cassino that was taken from the Germans by the Allies with the help of the Canadian soldiers. 2 students from our school actually had the opportunity to speak at this ceremony, and if you can see in the photo on the right, or my right here, in the top right corner, is the Monte Cassino Abbey in the background.
So a major aspect of our trip was that each student had to research a fallen Canadian soldier from Monte Cassino. And that was a really personal part of the trip because a lot of people got connected to these soldiers, and we found their graves in the cemetery in Italy and left behind wooden crosses that were all personalized with their information as well as mementos from our research. And this was a very moving experience for all of us to be next to the gravestones of these soldiers that we'd been researching all year long. So as promised, we also left a wreath behind at Monte Cassino Cemetery on behalf of Springwater Township. We are incredibly grateful to the township for helping us cover the bus costs to Pearson Airport from our school. Your financial assistance helped us to be present to honor the sacrifices of our World War I veterans at Vimy Ridge, as well as our World War II veterans at Juno Beach and Monte Cassino. From the students of St. Joseph's High School in Barrie, we offer our sincere thanks. Thank you very much.
Just to emphasize there at Monte Cassino, that's one of our students there. He's not here with these students here today. At the podium there, talking about, actually he was offering up a poem from World War II. But we also had a second student who spoke about her own research that she had done on the soldier that she had been assigned, and she ended up meeting the family, the descendants who are from New Jersey now, and they're going to meet up with her, and they're going to spend some time in the summer together. It was a really lucky turn of events that somehow through Facebook, I think it was, she ended up linking up with the living descendants of that soldier who died at Monte Cassino. So it was some very lucky moments and some very brave students to speak in front of that crowd on that day. So thank you for your support.
Excellent. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for each of your individual presentations. They're very well done. Council, any comments? Councillor Ritchie?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Thank you for coming. I was looking forward to seeing you coming back. We seen it on the TV there, and to be able to go over and witness that is, that you did something you'll never forget. Many a historian has said Canada became a country on the battlefields of Europe, and that's true too, because we offered so much and did so much over there, and you got to go and witness that. So I think that's great. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I have a mover and a seconder then to receive this? Councillor Moore and Councillor Chapman, that the delegation from St. Joseph's High School 75th anniversary of D-Day invasions student presentation be received. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you again. You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to stay.
They have exams to study for.
Okay. Go home and get studying. Resume studying. Thanks again. Have a good summer.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, we're at 4.2 in the agenda, and I now call upon Gloria Woods to make a presentation to council regarding a signalized crosswalk in Yonge Street North and George Street in Elmville. Welcome, Ms. Woods.
Thank you. Mayor Allen, Springwater councillors and staff, I'm Gloria Woods. I live at Maple Crest Court Condominiums in Elmville, and I'm here tonight to present the need for a crosswalk in north of the lights in Elmville at George Street and Yonge Street. This is an overview of everything the area I'm talking about. So you see George Street to the north of Foodland and Peter Street to the south. I would like to make comment about the condo drive. That driveway takes us down to 48 condominium units. And in some of those units, some of the owners own 2 cars, not just one. So all of those cars, along with their visitors and all the service people that come into our buildings, we have PSWs, mailed delivery, we have our own garbage contracts. So there's a lot of traffic on that condo drive. So it's not a street, you people don't maintain it, we do it ourselves. But when we're talking about a crosswalk, I think we have to really consider the traffic on that drive. This is standing on Yonge Street looking south towards the lights, and I'm actually in front of George Street right there. This is a look of where a crosswalk might be. I don't know if that's the proper location for it, but you see the Anglican Church, the Foodland in the bottom of to this side of George Street, the old schoolhouse apartments, so there's 15 units there, and the condominiums. So a little background, the intersection of Yonge Street North and George Street is regularly used by pedestrians to cross Yonge Street in both increasing regularity and increasing numbers. During special events like the Fall Fair and the Maple Syrup Festival, pedestrian crossings at these locations, including our visitors, increases dramatically, as does traffic volume. Seniors living in the immediate vicinity regularly cross the location to access Foodland. Residents cross in either direction to access the arena, Foodland, Presbyterian Church, Our Lady of Lourdes School, etc. And so here we have an overview again. You can see why we're so populated there. The apartments, there's 8 I'm used to this being able to bring everything in separately. But you can see where all the apartments are, where there's 14 units. There's 8 units right above LCBO. Right there is 8 apartments there. And with the apartments over by the crosswalk, there's 6 there, 15 and 21 young, and 48 condos, 24 proposed apartments happening. So you can see in this picture all the other things people might be going to, like the arena, the ball diamond, splash pad. The LCBO is on Kerr Street, along with the Presbyterian Church, and people access the parking lot of Presbyterian Church from Kerr Street, and Our Lady of Lourdes School as well. And these are just some pictures of some of the apartment buildings in the area. I'll go quickly through them. That is 21 Yonge Street, and there you can see the driveway that takes you down into the condos. And parking lot for the church, Foodland, and this is the arena, which is on George Street, Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church. And then we have Homer Barrett Park Playground, and in the summertime, lots of activity goes on in there in the summertime. At wintertime, we have the rink and the toboggan hill. And this is our Lady of Lourdes School. So some present pedestrian changes. Our Elmvale Fall Fair brings families out and attracts many visitors. So it's a very busy day. Actually, it's 2 days. Elmvale Maple Syrup Festival brings our families out and attracts many visitors again. And some newer challenges, proposed apartments happening in the north of Yonge Street. There's 24 units to happen there. We now have a splash pad at Homer Barrett Park, and they also play pickleball. The Elmvale Sci-Fi Fantasy Street Party attracts families and visitors and is expected to grow. This keeps the town busy. This is the new County Lynx bus that services northbound from Barrie, and that is parked in front of 13 Yonge Street to the north of Kerr Street, and I'm looking at it from Peter Street, which is to the south of Foodland. So that's another busy spot. Quantifying safety, it is understood that the collisions and relatively unpredictable events are relatively unpredictable. Security is the perception of how safe a road user feels in the road environment as opposed to the actual level of safety. Higher levels of safety occur where there exists a proper right-of-way control, such as a signalized crosswalk, given the road type, roadside environment, traffic volumes, and the age and type of pedestrians. driver and pedestrian behaviors is at least partly based on their perception of the risk, and the road users do not always evaluate risk consistently. Pedestrians differ in terms of their mobility, their speed, and their ability to perceive and react to potential conflicts and recognize and understand traffic control devices when they are present. Higher levels of safety also occur when pedestrians and drivers have a clear understanding what actions they themselves are expected to take and what other road users are likely to do. Traffic control installations such as stop signs, PXO crossovers, signalized crosswalks and/or signalized intersections serve to alleviate conflict and enhance safety for drivers and pedestrians. Uncontrolled street crossings at an intersection put both motorists and pedestrians at risk by creating uncertainty and changing the normal traffic parameters. It is not illegal in Ontario to cross the roadway mid-block. The law does not stipulate how far from a nearest crosswalk one must be in order to legally cross mid-block, but Toronto Police use 30 meters as a general rule. The reality is that the intersection at Yonge Street North and George Street has been and will continue to be used by pedestrians to cross Yonge Street North. The number crossing at the location continues to rise, and the incidence of dangerous interactions between vehicles and pedestrians rise proportionately as well. Most Elmville residents are familiar with the location and its frequent use to cross Yonge Street North and may sometimes adjust their driving accordingly. However, traffic transiting through Elmville do not. Crossings during evening hours under poor lighting conditions only exacerbates the situation, more so in winter with fewer daylight hours. Weather factors such as ice, snowfall, heavy rain make crossing the roadway perilous at any time. This is far more acute at uncontrolled crossings where vehicles approaching are unexpectedly forced to stop should a pedestrian fall while crossing. Seniors with mobility issues and are significantly disadvantaged as they are physically unable to cross elsewhere in order to access Foodland directly. A signalized pedestrian crosswalk provides clear rules and controls for both pedestrians and motorists, alerts drivers to the presence of pedestrians, and places specific legal obligations on drivers as to pedestrian right-of-way. It eliminates the ambiguity encountered by motorists when pedestrians cross unexpectedly, and it provides adequate time for seniors to cross the roadway. Even if traffic is present, it is stopped and will wait for the crossing to be completed. Creates a safe environment for crossing during evenings and other low-light conditions. It would help significantly in addressing the additional pedestrian crossings due to the Lynx bus and the splash pad, etc. It provides children a safe, controlled crossing option, thereby reducing the likelihood of crossing impulsively. So this gives you a look of what a good, safe crosswalk would look like. Everyone's stopped and they all know what their obligations are. This is not the first time this has come to Council. On December 15, 2014, Council received a staff report authorized by Mr. John Daly, Director of Corporate Services and Clerk, regarding no parking and crosswalk on Yonge Street North and George Street. The report's highlights stated that during recent road reconstruction, conduit was installed to facilitate the future installation of a signalized intersection at Yonge Street and George Streets. That staff support the new parking prohibitions and referred of the traffic signals to future capital project deliberations. On February 2nd, 2015, Springwater Council approved the following motion. Whereas the township received a petition signed by 48 units at 19A and B Yonge Street requesting a parking prohibition on the east side of Yonge Street North. And whereas the township issued notice to all property owners within 120 meters of the proposed prohibition. And now therefore, that no parking prohibition be implemented on the east side of Yonge Street North from Kerr Street to the point 123 meters north. And that has happened and it's worked pretty well. And the installation of the traffic signal and pedestrian crosswalk at George Street intersections be referred to future capital project budget deliberations. And that the necessary bylaw be presented for adoption, and that was carried. So that's the end of my presentation. I have a small delegation with me tonight, and as you probably have seen in your notes, I think you were told that we had collected 618 names. Those petitions were only placed in certain areas. So one was Whitfield Drugstore, the library, Foodland, our lobbies at the condominium, and at the schoolhouse lobby. And so no one went around and asked for signatures, they were just signed. And so we did very well in getting signatures. People realize it's become a need, a big need, and I'm afraid somebody's going to get hurt one of these days. So I'm hoping you people can see the need for this and get it in the budget.
Thank you, Ms. Woods, for the presentation. Well put together presentation. I open it up to council for comments, questions. Councillor Ritchie?
Thank you for coming. Excellent presentation, and I agree with you. There is a lot of traffic there coming back and forth, and something we definitely got to look at. Would you move that crosswalk so it's right in front of Foodland, or leave it right there
Do you
by
know
the
what?
corner
To
of?
me, right in front of Foodland, let me see if I can go back. Can I just go ahead?
Yeah, that one
I have to go back?
there where it had so many different.
Those of us that are here really prefer to see it probably in front of Foodland, but I don't know where the
Oh,
conduit,
there,
up
too
there,
far.
okay,
Went
that
too
one
far.
there.
Like you moved
I
it
think
right.
I have a better one. Let's go to this one.
That's it.
So none of those streets line up, like the Condo Drive and George Street don't line up, Kerr Street and Peter Street don't line up. If people were to cross where that crossing walk is shown, so that's really in front of the Anglican Church.
Yeah.
They cross there, now they've got to get over to Foodland.
yeah.
And all those people parked beside Foodland, they back out. And then we've got people trying to turn left and people trying to turn right onto George Street. So that to me is not a great location. However, I am aware that once you put a crosswalk there, everybody is stopped.
Right.
But then once they start to move again, you've now got to get across from the one side to the other. So I don't know, I think that's something your engineers or whoever decides that.
Well, I just thought like, if you came down from the condos, you stood in front of where
Yeah.
the Cube Man is.
Yeah.
And put your cross, you go straight across, back
Right
and
here,
forth.
right in this area.
Yeah, you don't have to cross and then cross again,
Yeah, exactly.
because you're in front of the traffic. Here, you're crossing once, you're right in front of the doors, and then go back again.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic coming up from the arena can cross and come up, and, I don't know, you're right, leave it to the engineers, but, there is, there's a lot of traffic there, I agree, and we need to do something, but thank
Well,
you for coming.
Sunday nights and Monday mornings,
Yeah.
we people in the condo often have to turn, if we want to go south, we turn right and go
Yeah,
around through the
that's right.
village to the lights so that we can turn south.
This time of the year, it's okay, the arena's not in effect, but when there's
No.
hockey games and tournaments,
Yeah.
it's, and you got the curling club, and it's
Yeah.
a busy spot. Thank
Yeah,
you again.
it is. You're welcome.
Councillor Cabral?
Thank you, Ms. Woods, through Mayor Allen, sorry. I appreciate your presentation, and I will admit that I did have a hand in kind of looking at this, and did have an opportunity to have our Director of Public Works attend with me up there and look at that particular site prior to the delegation coming forward. And one of the considerations for the location is that because the roads don't line up, and the fact that if they were on the Presbyterian Church side, I think that's the Presbyterian Church.
No,
is it?
that's the Anglican.
Anglican
but that's
Church,
okay.
sorry.
Just say church.
The church is that pedestrians then do have the traffic control of the stop sign there to get across, but it's really just the shape of that particular intersection. In all reality, I think the idea back when they put the conduits in was to actually have that for the amount of vehicles that are turning there to go into Foodland and go to the arena and access residential homes in there. And not to mention the traffic coming out of the Condo Drive, I would actually suggest that possibly that should be just a full intersection at that location in order to accommodate the traffic. Because come summertime, traffic backs up all the way past Foodland. Lots of times because of people wanting to make left-hand turns who are going southbound. They want to turn left onto Queen. And if only one car gets by, everybody else has got to be waiting there and it just backs up. So I certainly would support seeing either a pedestrian crossover at the appropriate location, or I think really probably a full signalized intersection at that location.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, can I have a mover and a seconder to receive this delegation, please? Councillor Cabral, Councillor Ritchie. that the delegation from Gloria Woods re-signalize crosswalk at Yonge Street North and George Street in Elmville be received. All those in favor? No, sorry. Councillor Cabral.
Sorry, Mary Ellen, I would like to propose an amendment.
Okay.
The amendment I'd like to propose, excuse me while I throw my glasses on here, that the motion now before council be amended as follows. Add, and that staff be directed to report to council to provide further information regarding a potential signalized crosswalk and/or fully signalized intersection at Yonge Street North and George Street in Elmvale.
Do you mean and/or just or?
For them to look at both so that we have an opportunity to see what the cost implications are going to be. See what the cost implications are going to be and decide which one is actually better for that particular situation. So that would be my motion, to get information on both.
Okay. Seconder for that?
Sorry.
Deputy Mayor
I'd
Coughlin?
like to second that, please.
Okay. Comments before we vote on that? Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you. I can just add, and it is just a comment, I do drive my kids on Kerr Street to school every day, and I have also rerouted to go out Baseline down the 8th to get back home north, because turning left on there is, there's just no point. You sit there for far too long, and there is a ton of traffic in there, and although winter time does add some more to it, it doesn't matter what time of year you're in there, whether it's cottage traffic or what it is, that is an extremely busy area.
Councillor Cabral?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Allen. I just want to point out one additional fact. There is another PXO crossover over on Yonge Street South by the United Church at, I believe it's not Stone Street, near the McDonald's. John Street. And I just want to point out that part of my thought on this was that it may be too close to the other intersection, but the reality is that it's almost identically the same distance away as that one is from Yonge and Queen. So it actually fits in perfectly with the three that we already have in Elmville.
Deputy Mayor Coughlin?
Thank you, and on top of Councillor Cabral's comments, this is the only artery into Elmvale that doesn't have a crosswalk. So consistently right now, coming from east or west or from the south into Elmville, there is a crosswalk for pedestrians, whereas this is the only artery that there is no crosswalk available.
Okay, we're voting. Councillor Moore, did you have a point?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just a question, really. Is this project already in the capital budget? 10-year, 6-year?
No, I'll refer that to Director Schmidt, but I believe not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Councillor Moore. Not that I'm aware of, just checking it here. There is one proposed in Elmville, but not at this location.
Okay. All right, so we're voting on the amendment. All those in favor? Carried. And we have the main motion moved by Councillor Cabral, seconded by Councillor Ritchie, that the delegation from Gloria Woods re-signalized crosswalk at Yonge Street North and George Street in Elmville be received, and that staff be directed to report to council to provide further information regarding a potential signalized crosswalk and fully signalized intersection at Yonge Street North and George Street in Elmville. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Next, we're moving on to question period, where the public are invited to ask questions or make comments regarding an item on tonight's agenda for up to 10 minutes, 2 minutes for each person. Anybody have any questions they want to bring forward? Okay, moving on to 6.1, minutes of boards, committees, and organizations. Can I have a mover and seconder to get this on the table? Councillor Moore, Councillor Chapman. That the minutes of boards, committees, and other organizations listed herein be received as information. Anybody want to comment on either of these? Okay, the minutes of the Cultural Activities Advisory Committee meeting of April 2nd, 2019, and the minutes of the Recreation Advisory Committee meeting of April 30, 2019. All those in favor? Carried. Item 7 is correspondence and information items. Can I have a mover and seconder to get those on the floor? Councillor Cabral, Councillor Ritchie. Any items of discussion with respect to either of those? The motion is that the correspondence information items listed herein be received as information. That's the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority media release re the Dunsmore Natural Area. And the second one is a letter from Morrison Hirschfield re Highway 11, County Road 93 overpass replacement and interchange improvements. All those in favor? Carried. Next, we have action reports. Please note that item 8.2 has been moved to information reports, and item 8.3 regarding the ball diamonds at Tree Nursery Park has been withdrawn because we're waiting further information with respect to that report. Can I have a mover and a seconder to get the action report on the table? Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Chapman. So this is the award of contract re Ronald Road reconstruction. Are there any questions or discussions with respect to that? Councillor Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Allen, and I don't know if we'll be able to get this answered, just clarification. There was an engineering report done, I believe, back in 2012, in around there, with respect to Ronald Road. I think it was a preliminary one, and that was also by Tatham at the time, and they've been obviously doing more work on it. I just want to know if that's additional work to the initial engineering report. Certainly not anything that's being duplicated. That was my question.
Mr. Haw, are you able to answer that question?
Yeah, yes, through you, Mayor, to Councillor Cabral. No, this, I guess, from what I understand, this project was designed by Tatum in 2012. This is, so that was taken to 95% drawings. This is just taking it to the full 100%, but none of the drawings haven't changed. It's exactly what was proposed.
Any other questions, comments? Yes, CAO Brinley.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As an additional comment, there are some projects that actually we designed early to have shelf contracts, jobs on the shelf, because as you may recall that on several times we have actually applied for government funding for this project. We unfortunately were not able to get it, but there are projects like this that we designed earlier in order to have these ready to go in the event that there were government funds.
Thank you. Okay, the motion with respect to this 8.4 is moved by Coughlin, seconded by Chapman, that the report from the Director of Public Works regarding the award of contract Ronald Road reconstruction be received, and that G Pre Services Inc. be awarded the contract for the reconstruction of Ronald Road in the amount of $979,522.42 plus HST, and that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to execute the necessary documents. All those in favor? Carried. Next is 9.1. Can I have a mover and seconder to get the information reports? Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Councillor Cabral. Are there any of these reports that we'd like to question or pull? Councillor Hanna?
9.1.1 fire report.
Okay, do you have a question on that, or?
Just a comment, and I'd like to make a follow-up to it at future consideration.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and make the comment, and then we'll.
If you happen to pull up the report, you'll see on there, we always had these questions in the past, how come we're always going to the medical assist when the ambulance responds? And I know it's a tiered response, and we always, our fire service always gets sent out with the ambulance service, and I'm going to suggest in future consideration that we take a look at trying to prevent that in the future. If you see some of the calls where our fire service people are getting up in the middle of the night to go to ambulance calls, and the time they get there, obviously the situation's gone because they're only there for a minute or two. The other question I have is that burn without permits. Our fire service attends the complaints where people are burning without a permit. My question will be, why are we not sending our bylaw people to those calls? They're on in the daytime, they're here full time, where our fire service or volunteers that have to leave either their home or their place of employment to go to deal with burn without permit. If our full-time fire chief or deputy chief aren't able to respond to them, as is what you'll see in this report, where, I think it was Station 4, where volunteers had to attend a burn without permit.
Okay, thank you. CEO Brindley, can you comment on those, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Hanna. By all means, with the request for the IFC, we'd be glad to respond. I don't have the answer. I just know that because of the way you've mentioned the calls are tiered, we do try to filter out some of them, but the challenge is we don't filter out all. And as the councillor probably knows too, is sometimes we show up and our assistance isn't required. Other times, I think the ambulance expects us to help people, take people out of buildings, which isn't our job. So we will address that. If it comes through IFC, we'll be more than happy to address that. With respect to the bylaw attending, I know that in the event that the fire is out of control, we usually have trained people there to deal with the fire, because we have had situations where we have attended and it's necessary to put out the fire. But that's something that I will be glad to follow up with council with respect to the second question.
Thank you. Follow on.
Just a follow-up question, as Councillor Moore and I were talking, when somebody calls the fire or the 911, if you like, do they ask them if they want fire, police, or ambulance, or do they just send everybody? I don't know the answer.
CEO Brindley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Hanna. I don't know the complete answer. I know there are a number of questions they use to triage the call, but at times they will always provide more sources or more resources in order to address if the call is ambiguous, because sometimes even the person calling really doesn't know how to answer the question. So there is an attempt to triage, but not always as successful as we would hope.
So we'll incorporate that in the further. Thank you, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. I know Chief Gavay is not here today, but I did want to say thank you to him for putting this extra column in for me to put the on-scene time. It certainly, for me, makes things a bit clearer, too. And in my experience, to CAO Brindley, I know some other municipalities and townships or cities at this point are triaging police, fire, and ambulance and only sending the most appropriate EMS responder. So maybe that's something we could even look at gathering some statistics around that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other of these information reports? Councillor Cabral?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. We don't have to pull them, but I did want to just congratulate, I guess, the township once again on the 100% score on the water testing when the ministry came to do their inspections. From what I read there, it sounds like the next inspection, since we've been doing so good, is going to be a little bit more limited in scope. So that's good for us, and I congratulate staff on that one.
Thank you. Okay, then we have a mover and seconder. I will read through these. The report items listed herein be received as information. The fire report for May 2019, the building department summary for May 2019, Anton Mills and Deltrend drinking water system inspection report 2019, the RFQ 219-24 for the Works Yard 3 roof replacement, the Estates of Anton Mills red line revision and zoning bylaw amendment, Fernbrook Homes, the minor variance application, re 69 Marks Road, the minor variance application, re 3772 Horseshoe Valley Road West, the minor variance application, re 2987 Marshall Road, the application boundary adjustment by G&D Ritchie, and the amended minor variance application, re 39 Nash Avenue. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Verbal reports. Any updates, Director Spagnell, on OP, official plan, or the economic development update?
Thank you, Mayor Allen. The only report I have is with respect to the Agricultural Advisory Committee as it relates to the official plan review process. The committee met on June 11th, and it was a productive meeting. They have a lot of reading to do, and we're looking forward to meeting with them hopefully in August to discuss their comments with respect to the discussion paper and the growth management strategy, along with other documents related to agriculture. That's all I have to report at this point.
Thank you, Director. Moving on to county updates, Deputy Mayor Coughlin.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Most recently, we attended the Simcoe County Strong Conference at Casino Rama on Monday evening, following into Tuesday. It was an excellent conference. I will say that the sessions that they put on were very informative. Director Schmidt, CAO Brindley, Clerk Chaperone, and I also believe Ms. Belcourt in planning were in attendance, and I might be forgetting. Okay, good. Well, and yes, of course, Mayor Allen was there as well, who also chose his conferences first and then told me what I was attending. So we did divide and conquer. Great sessions. I did attend a forestry session, which was quite interesting on how much of the county forests are in Springwater, including the first and largest at the time Hendry Track, which is very significant. Social media, there was a tweet or not to tweet municipal parking, which didn't apply, so we didn't attend. But also there was a session on litigation and risk management that was very informative. So I'm hoping that they continue with this conference because it is close and it is specific to Simcoe County, and it provides an awesome opportunity for us to get to know our neighboring municipalities.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and I believe you won a draw, did you not?
I did win a draw, and I'm not giving you the socks. And also at the conference, Warden Cannell did announce that he received information regarding the regional review that there would not be an announcement at AMO, and we'd be looking now into November for any decision.
Thank you. Councillor Hanna.
Thank you, Mayor. Just through to our county representative, being yourself and our deputy mayor. The warden asked me if I was attending his golf tournament next week. I told him I didn't know anything about it. So I guess my question is, did we get a notice from the county that they were having this golf tournament?
Yes, we did get a notice about it, and I thought people were aware of it, but it's on next Wednesday, and I know they're looking for people, and we can get information to you with respect to that.
Thank you. And just as follow-up, so was anybody from our township or this council attending that golf tournament?
I am attending, Deputy Mayor Coughlin attending. We've been invited by Ainley to attend as part of their force.
Okay, thank you. And if we could follow up just to make sure that when those notices come forward, they do get disseminated, because anybody else on council I've talked to, they didn't get the notice either.
Will do. Okay, municipal updates. Anybody have any municipal updates? Councillor Cabral.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. Just a reminder now, farmers market's open on Fridays from 9 to 2. I was there last Friday. It was very well attended. Of course, it was a nice day, but that's rain or shine. The first Music in the Parquet at the Gateway Parquet in Elmville is happening this Saturday from 1 to 4, and they've got someone, I believe, Shane Cloche is coming out, and next Saturday, the 29th, is a gal by the name of Miranda Journey. So I don't know what kind of music they play, but I would suspect that they're single artists, so that might be mostly folk, I guess. I don't know. Sci-Fi is coming up again. That's on July the 20th. And the other item on here I wanted to make mention of is one of the businesses in Elmville is getting very, very close to opening up the first outdoor patio, really, on the main street of Elmville. That'd be Steelers. And they've got some nice railings up there, some nice lights, and I guess they're getting set to open her up. So if you happen to be there, it'd be nice to sit out in the sunshine and have a refreshment or two.
Thank you, Councillor. So the Music in the Park is 6 to 8 on those nights?
I apologize, 1 to 4. 1 to 4. Did I say 6 to 8?
No, I thought I'd seen that somewhere else, but I was just clarifying.
1 to 4 in the afternoon.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, Councillor Chapman.
Thank you, Mayor Allen. The Ministry of Recreation had their meeting last night, and just letting you know our plans for our Labor Day tournament is on the way, and we already have teams from last year who already want to play, so hopefully we have 32 teams again like we did last year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I have a few. Let me just start here. The Springwater Swing, our Springwater Swing tournament was last Wednesday, very much a success. We had over 100 golfers join us. It was the best day of the week weather-wise, and everybody had lots of fun. There were great sponsorships, great attendance of people, and lots of prizes. And so the hard work of Deputy Mayor Coughlin, Janine Peck, Natalie Graham, and other volunteers made it a very smooth event. And the final revenue that were revenue over expenses that we expect to receive is in excess of $35,000. So that's a very successful tournament. I think it's the most we've collected in the last 10 years. So will be a more complete report on that for the next council meeting. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Simcoe County Federation of Agriculture Summer Barbecue and Tour. It is on Friday, July the 12th. It's a tour that starts at 2 o'clock and will tour the farms of the Langmans and Mr. Doug Spence, and then followed by a 6 o'clock barbecue supper and a 7 o'clock guest speaker. I have tickets, they're $25 per person, and this will be a good session. There'll be lots of, I think, MPPs, MPs out there, and hopefully we can get out and support it, and of course lots of farmers. So that's Friday, July the 12th. And I wanted to have Director Belcourt give us a brief update on the status of the food bank, please.
Thank you, Mayor Allen, through to you and members of council. So the Food Bank Committee has been hard at work since being given the go-ahead for a new building. To date, the committee has formed a new board of directors to oversee the food bank operations and specifically work on the new building. Excuse me. We've been working with the Elmville Home Building Center design team with a building layout and floor plan. That's being refined right now through comments that we've received back from other members of the food bank and other members of the public that have had an interest in it. And these drawings will be presented to the Accessibility Advisory Committee for their review and recommendations, if any. June 6th, we had the geotechnical investigative work for the foundation plans completed, and we're expecting the report any day now. And currently myself with another member of the board of directors are working on drafting a design build RFP that we hope to get out as soon as possible once we have the results from the geotechnical work.
Thank you for that update. Okay, we're moving on to item 11, notices of motions. Anybody have a notice of motion? Then moving on to item 12, item for future consideration. Councillor Hanna, I believe, had one.
Thank you, Mayor, and it's just a follow-up to my previous comments about the fire service, that being that consideration be given for Mr. Brinley to check to see if it would be appropriate for bylaw to attend the burn without permit complaints, and also to follow up with a tiered response to see if we can eliminate our fire service personnel being either called out in the middle of the night or from their place of employment to attend calls where ambulances are already present or attending.
Okay, we'll just give the clerk a moment to capture those in writing. So we have Councillor Hanna moving that. We have a seconder for that, please? Councillor Cabral? Okay, this is going to come in two different motions. So the first one is that the item for future consideration presented by Councillor Hanna requesting that staff be directed to review the tiered response model for fire services to review the need for fire service to attend medical calls. Any questions or discussion about that? It's to be followed by another one which is being worked on. All those in favor? Carried. Sir, we can't ask questions at this point. You're welcome after the meeting to pose a question, but there is a question period that we had, and those are for questions. Thank you. Okay, we need a seconder for the second part of this, please. Councillor Chapman. So, future consideration presented by Councillor Hanna requesting that staff review the potential of bylaw enforcement staff to attend burn without permit calls. All those in favor? Carried. Next, we have a, do you have a question at this point? Okay. We have we need a mover and seconder for the, okay, sorry, you have an IFC?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor
Councillor
Allen.
Cabral.
Thank you. This one here involves, I guess for the most part, almost like getting the community a little bit more involved in certain things. I'm thinking back to when we went to do a couple of presentations that I was at the community hall in Elmvale, where I think we brought the only portable projector that the township has on hand. And I had to admit it left me a little bit lacking, not very bright, not easy for most people to see. The picture wasn't all that huge. I don't think it was much bigger than this. But I wanted to bring this up because I wanted to see if there was an opportunity to have the township secure a more robust projector, something that may be upwards of $4,000 or maybe more, that could throw a really bright picture, a large picture, and be used for a lot of events, similar to like when the Raptors, they got together at Nathan Phillips Square. They shot it up there on the screen. It brought the community together for that. I can think back to the Tragically Hip when they did their concert. All kinds of communities jumped on board with that too. I can see it being used for the Olympics, the tree lighting ceremony, a much more robust LCD projector that we could utilize for these types of events, and also utilize within the township for larger venues. I think you kind of get where I'm going with this. Something that could be used in the evening, maybe for a movie night at a community park for the children to come out one night, but certainly big enough and robust enough that the ambient light wouldn't ruin and wash out the picture. So I don't think it's something that would be $1,000, but it could be upwards of maybe $4,000 or $5,000. But I think it'd be worth it because I can see a lot of opportunity for the committees to use it, the cultural committee if they were doing something, certainly any other committees that had an event going on, and even the tree lighting ceremony, if they were going to have a sing-song with Christmas songs, they could fire it up out there and people could have a little bit of an opportunity. But I think it would be something that would be useful and get a little bit of community spirit out there sometimes for various events that happen, even the Olympics, if we were in the big game sometime. So that's what I'd like to propose.
Okay, do we have a seconder for that, for item for future consideration? Deputy Mayor Coughlin? Clerk Chaperon?
Thank you, through you. For clarification, as I write this, are you looking for the IFC to state that council procures this, or for a report for further information on different technologies and equipment available?
I think best probably to get a report from the IT people on what kind of projectors are available out there that would be suitable for this purpose, and then some costs associated with them so that council could make an informed decision on whether they wanted to move forward with it or not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's being crafted. I guess another consideration is the mobility of it and moving it. Because but you need a screen though. You need something to project onto.
Screen or a white wall, yes.
Yeah.
It would be probably or additional cost for some type of a screen, but I don't anticipate that would be a huge amount. It probably fired on a couple of bed sheets if you want to, or a nice brightly white painted wall at one of our buildings. But yes, that should be a consideration as well. Mayor Allen, thank you.
Okay, the item for future consideration presented by Councillor Cabral, that staff be directed to report to council regarding the purchase of a large projector for outdoor use at various community events. I'm wondering, is hereby approved. I'm wondering about projector and screen. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Mover and seconder, please, for the bylaw confirmation. Councillor Moore, Councillor Chapman, that bylaw 219-053 to confirm and adopt the proceedings of council at the regular meeting being held on June 1919, listed herein, be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. All those in favor? Carried. And an adjournment bylaw. Councillor Cabral, Deputy Mayor Coghlan, that the meeting of the Township of Springwater does now adjourn at 7:27 p.m. to meet again at regular meeting July 3rd, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. in the council chambers at Min Center in Minising. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you, and thank you for joining us.